Hello everyone, and welcome to my Yu-Gi-Oh channel. So I've been looking through some of the cards, and I wondered whatever actually happened to the level monsters, and why were they removed from being an actual theme. To begin with, we will have a look at the different level monsters that exist. So the basic idea of the level monsters is that you have roughly 3 or more monsters which upgrade over time. You'll start off with the weakest monster, and through some effects, whether that be upgrading to its higher form during the standby phase, or in the case of the armed dragons, when they destroy a monster, they can then upgrade themselves. Several of these cards came out in Soul of the Duelist back on the 1st of October 2004, so they are absolutely old. They're over 16 years old now. So first we've got the Type 1. Type 1 of level monsters mimic the level up mechanics fairly well. The first monsters in each set will also have a fairly easy time leveling up to the next level. The Silent Magicians are slightly different each time a player draws a card. It gets a spell counter which gives it a 500 attack boost. Once it has 5 spell counters, it can be tributed to summon its greatest form, which has a permanent 3,500 attack and immunity to spell cards. However, all of the final forms of these monsters are Nomi monsters, meaning they are unusable unless you have already exhausted all of their previous forms. The advantages to these types are that they are mid-level forms. They can be normal summoned without restrictions, making them usable in other decks. These will also likely be the ones used most during the course of a duel, due to their usefulness compared to relative ease of summoning. Note that the mid-forms of these sets are all 1 tributes, so there is some difficulty in summoning them, normally giving a reason to use their base forms instead. So we'll start off with the Armed Dragon series. This series of monsters are one of the level monsters used by a main series character, the Chaz Princeton. These were obtained by Chaz once he decided to leave Duel Academy, when he lost his duel to Bastion Sour and was forced to switch dorms, turning from Obelisk Blue to Ra Yellow. He couldn't deal with the shame and almost drowned as he left Duel Academy. It was the Chancellor of North Academy who saved him and sent him off to deal with the North Academy challenge. Chaz needed to find cards to make up a 40-card deck, and dueled his way through the duelists to become the most powerful member of North Academy. Once this happened, he was awarded North Academy's strongest deck, to face down Jaden, whom he lost to. Armed Dragon level 10 out of the support was seen actually later on from Series 2 of GX. I think it was used against Sartorius. So I'll briefly just have an overview of the different monsters, if you like. Armed Dragon level 3 is a Wind Attribute Dragon type level 3 with 1200 attack and 900 defense. During your standby phase, you can send this card to the graveyard and you can special summon 1 Armed Dragon level 5 from your hand or deck. So the big problem with this card is that it has to wait a turn before you can actually level it up, unless you are using something like Masked Dragon, which can special summon this card. So that's how you upgrade it. The second one is Armed Dragon level 5. This is a level 5 Wind Attribute Dragon type with 2,400 attack and 1,700 defense. The effect is you can send 1 monster from your hand to the graveyard, then target 1 monster your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to the sent monster's attack. Destroy that target. During the end phase, if this card destroyed a monster by battle this turn, you can send this card to the graveyard, special summon 1 Armed Dragon level 7 from your hand or deck. So with this card, you can actually get rid of cards stronger than this, depending on what you discard. So you can get rid of any immediate threats. They do have to be face up though, so that is a big issue to it. The other thing is, doing anything within the battle phase means you're actually going to cause yourself some problems there. If your opponent is able to stop your attack, then you are unable to level up. The next card is Armed Dragon level 7. This is a level 7 Wind Attribute Dragon type with 2,800 attack and 1,000 defense. It cannot be normal summoned or set. So this is the first of those restrictions which prevent it basically going into unless you use something like level up or something that ignores that condition. It must be special summoned by Armed Dragon level 5. You can send one monster from your hand to the graveyard to destroy all monsters your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to that sent monster's attack. So essentially it's a stronger version of Armed Dragon's effect, of the level 5 effect, but the problem is that it depends on what you're discarding and it depends on whether your opponent has any face-up cards as well. So we have a look at the final of the monsters, and there we go. We've got Armed Dragon level 10. It's a level 10. It's a level 10 wind attribute dragon type monster with 3000 attack and 2000 defense. The effect is this card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card cannot be special summoned except by attributing one Armed Dragon level 7. You can send one card from your hand to the graveyard to destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls. So it's just basically it's like a lightning vortex in a monster form. That's essentially its effect. So the next load of several cards are the Horus the Black Flame Dragon series. The Black Flame Dragon series were used as a one-off strategy for a duelist who wanted to challenge Jaden Yuki in his final year in Season 4. By this time, Jaden was used to getting challenges, and people had believed by countering his spell cards that he wouldn't be able to fuse into his strongest monsters. The first example of that was when Bastion used Curse Seal of the Forbidden Spell to prevent the activation of Polarization for the duration of that duel. But as we continue, we'll have a quick look at them. Here's the level 4 version, Horus the Black Flame Dragon. It's a level 4 with 1600 attack and 1000 defense. It's got a fire attribute and it's a dragon type. The effect is control of this face-up card cannot switch. During the end phase, if this card destroys a monster by battle this turn, you can send this face-up card to the graveyard, special summon one Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 6 from your hand or deck. So here is the second version, the level 6. It's also fire attribute and it's dragon type as well. The effect is this card is unaffected by spell effects. During the end phase, if this card destroyed a monster by battle this turn, you can send this face-up card to the graveyard, special summon one Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 8 from your hand or deck. And the final one is Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 8. Again, it's a fire attribute, and again, it's a dragon type. It can't be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned by Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 6, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. During either player's turn, when a spell card is activated, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. You must control this face-up card to activate and to resolve this effect. This is one of the more powerful of the level monsters to be introduced because it shuts down spell cards. It means that your opponent is limited to what they can do. Okay, so for the next series of cards, these weren't actually released in the anime, or, well, they were shown in the anime, but they were never actually put for release. They were used as a one-off within Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. It was used by Ramsborg, someone who pretended to dress up as a knight within a dueling tournament. Rex Goodwin set up to identify who the signers were, and Ramsborg was challenging Akisa to a duel. And these were the cards he used. Masked Knight level 3. Basically, I think it did about 400 points of damage. I think Masked Knight level 5, when it was summoned, did, I think it was 800 points of damage or 1,000, something like that. and Masked Knight level 7, I think it did 1,500 points of damage when it was summoned. They were just basically did burn damage, that was their effect. So now we go on to the Silent Magician series. These cards were used by Yugimoto in the latest part of Series 5. It really only saw use against Bakura and the final duel of Yugi versus Atem, the Pharaoh. So you've got the level 4 version. It's got 1,000 attack and 1,000 defense. And the effect is each time your opponent draws a card, you place one spell counter on this card, maximum 5. This card gains 500 attack for each spell counter on it. During the standby phase of your next turn, after the 5th spell counter is placed on this card, you can send this face-up card with 5 spell counters on it to the graveyard, special summon one Silent Magician level 8 from your hand or deck. This is one of the more unusual ones, but actually it's quite decent for what it can do. It boosts itself up, so you don't have to trade it in, but it's always an option. And then you've got straight into level 8. It's a 3,500 attack monster with 1,000 defense, light attribute, spellcaster type. It cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned by Silent Magician level 4, and it cannot be special summoned by other ways. And the best thing about it is completely unaffected by your opponent's spell effects. So whilst Horus shuts down your opponent's spells, this is able to prevent itself being targeted or affected by any of your opponent's spells regardless. The second type of monsters are exclusive to the Mystic Swordsman series. These were perhaps the prototypes for the third type, as each card was theoretically usable since they could be not set normally, but only the base form could be normal summoned. However, due to the low defense of these cards, they are not likely to survive their first turn, and any protection cards could be better used for other occasions. Apart from this type of card has a few drawbacks compared to the first type, namely that all 3 versions could be used with devastating effect, regardless of whether or not you plan to level them. Okay, so let's start with the smallest one. Where is it? So we have Mystic Swordsman at level 2. It's an Earth attribute warrior type with 900 attack and 0 defense. The effect is at the start of the damage step, if this card attacked a face-down defense position monster, destroy that monster. During the end phase, if this card destroyed a monster by battle this turn, you can send this face-up card to the graveyard and special summon one Mystic Swordsman level 4 from your hand or deck. Okay, so the benefit of this is it prevents actually your opponent from flip summoning their monster, so they don't get the effect, it just instantly gets destroyed. Problem is now, most people aren't playing that defensive, so you are risking having issues, and 900 attack is very easy for it to run over, or be run over, should I say. The other issue is, of course, it has to use, it can't use its effect to go into its level 4 version, it actually has to destroy something in battle. And so that's why it's not used. You've got Mystic Swordsman level 4. This is a Earth attribute warrior type. It's 1,900 attack and 1,600 defense. And it can't be normal summoned, but it can be normal set. So you can actually set it in defense mode if you want. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacked a face-down defense position monster, destroy that monster. During the end phase, if this card destroyed a monster by battle this turn, you can send this face-up card to the graveyard to special summon a Mystic Swordsman level 6 from your hand or deck. This is a much better effect, considering that you want to be able to survive the battle with 1,900 attack. Even the defense is enough to maybe last a turn, whereas the level 2 version probably isn't. And the final version, Mystic Swordsman level 6. It's an Earth attribute warrior type level 6 monster with 2,300 attack and 1,700 defense. It cannot be normal summoned, but it can be normal set. At the start of the damage step, if this card attacked a face-down defense position monster, destroy that monster, and if you do, you can place it on top of your opponent's deck instead of sending it to the graveyard. So this takes the effect a little bit more and extends it that much better. It's the same with everything else. As they upgrade, their effects trickle in to become that much better. By making your opponent top deck their monster, they're essentially not able to draw into new cards, not being able to refresh their hands, and this creates like a loop where they can't actually get out of it. Unless they have something which can shuffle their cards in their hand, they're stuck drawing into the same cards, and that's where the issue comes up with this card. Okay, so for final, which is the type 3, the final type I consider the easier to summon, but the hardest to use. This type has no restrictions on normal summoning, however the trade-off is that they only obtain their effects when they are summoned by their predecessors. This makes it especially hard for the Allure Queen and Dark Lucius series to level up, as the mid-level form requires the effect to level up, and the support card Level Up cannot give them their effects, since they are not summoned by their previous versions. This makes them vulnerable to the effects of Swords of Concealing Light, Book of Moon, and Darkness Approaches, as well as they no longer count as being summoned by their previous versions. Although their final forms are more powerful, most of their effects are still quite useful. So we've got the Allure Queen series. They specialise in stealing your opponent's monsters, but they've not been seen within the anime. So Allure Queen level 3 is a Dark Attribute level 3 monster. It's a spellcaster type with 500 attack and 500 defense. The effect is, once per turn during your main phase, you can select one level 3 or lower monster on your opponent's side of the field and equip it to this card. Only one card at a time can be equipped due to this effect. If this card would be destroyed by battle, the equipped monster is destroyed instead. During your standby phase, by sending this card to the graveyard while it's equipped due to its effect, you can special summon one Allure Queen level 5 from your hand or deck. This is not particularly a good effect. I mean, unless your opponent is really keeping small level monsters on the field, it's really not going to do anything, and it can't even jump to its final additional levels until it uses its effect, which actually makes it quite weak. Okay, so the next card is Allure Queen level 5. Level 5, Dark Attribute, Spellcaster, 1000 attack, 1000 defense. The effect is, once per turn during your main phase, if this card was special summoned by the effect of Allure Queen level 3, you can select a level 5 or lower monster on your opponent's side of the field and equip it with this card. Only one card at a time can be equipped due to this effect, and if this card would be destroyed by battle, the equipped monster is destroyed instead. During your standby phase, by sending this card to the graveyard while it's equipped due to its effect, special summon one Allure Queen level 7 from your hand or deck. Okay, so this card is also quite weak for what it can do. It's maybe targeting a slightly bigger range of monsters than the level 3, but still it's not enough of an improvement. And the final of those cards is Allure Queen level 7. Again, level 7, Dark Attribute, Spellcaster type, 1500 attack, 1500 defense. And the effect is, once per turn during your main phase, if this card was special summoned by the effect of Allure Queen level 5, you can select one monster on your opponent's side of the field and equip it to this card. Only one card at a time can be equipped due to this effect. If this card would be destroyed by battle, the equipped monster is destroyed instead. Essentially, all these monsters do is they vary slightly in the levels that they can steal. Level 7 can basically take a couple levels more than level 5 and essentially 4 more than level 3. That's their purpose. So the next cards actually do some negation effects, and just when they destroy something in battle. Dark Lucius level 4, it's level 4 Earth Attribute Fiend type with 1000 attack and 300 defense. The effect is to negate the effects of your opponent's monsters destroyed by battle with this card. Once per turn during the standby phase of your next turn, after this card has destroyed a monster by battle, you can send this card to the graveyard, special summon one Dark Lucius level 6 from your hand or deck. The issue with this is it's just incredibly weak. You would need to support it with a number of equipped cards before being able to do anything about it. The level 6 monster is basically the same. It's an Earth attribute, Fiend, 1700 attack and 600 defense. And the effect is, if this card was special summoned by the effect of Dark Lucius level 4, negate the effects of your opponent's monsters destroyed by battle with this card. Once per turn, during the standby phase of your next turn, after this card negated your opponent's monster effect, by this effect, you can send this card to the graveyard to special summon the level 8 version from your hand or deck. Again, for a level 6, it's incredibly weak. You've got level 4 monsters, you've actually got some level 3 monsters that have that level of attack or beyond, so it's not useful whatsoever. And then, of course, you've got Dark Lucius level 8. This is a level 8 with an Earth attribute, and it's a Fiend type with 2800 attack and 900 defense. Its effect is, if this card was special summoned by the effect of Dark Lucius level 6, you can banish your opponent's monsters destroyed by battle with this card, also negate their effects. So out of the 3, this essentially gains the ability to banish your opponent's monster destroyed in battle instead of send it to the graveyard. That's the additional requirement and the additional benefit of running this card. Again, it's still not useful. It's just not worth your time. Okay, so the next one is the Dark Mimic series. This is not a particularly strong set of monsters. The first one, level 1, Dark Attribute, it's a Fiend type. I think this is the only one that's actually a flip effect monster, so it's got that over some of the others. But even the flip effect isn't that great. It's draw 1 card. Once per turn during your standby phase, you can send this card to the graveyard to special summon 1 Dark Mimic level 3 from your hand or deck. Good luck doing that. It's only got 100 attack and 1000 defense. It's really not likely to be able to trigger. If it does, you're doing something that most duelists probably can't. And then you've got the level 3 version, again, Dark Attribute. It's a Fiend type, 1000 attack and defense, so it doesn't even get a stat increase in its defense. So that's great. If this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you draw 1 card. But if this card was special summoned by the effect of Dark Mimic level 1, you draw 2 cards instead. So if you benefit, you get a free plus breed, but it's not likely to trigger. It's just, trust me, it's not going to happen. Next, you've got the Ultimate Insect series. These ones are attack and defense reducing monsters. They're not particularly powerful, but actually it's one of those that actually levels up similar to the Armed Dragons, because it's actually got a few stages to it rather than, say, 2 versions or 3 versions. This one has 4. Ultimate Insect level 1, it's got 0 attack and 0 defense. It's a level 1 monster, it's a wind attribute, and it's an insect type. The effect is, while this card is on the field, it is unaffected by the effects of spell cards. Wow, congratulations. Considering that your opponent can just run over this with a 100 attack monster, I don't think they're going to be targeting it or using spell effects to get rid of this card. During your standby phase, by sending this face-up card to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Ultimate Insect level 3 from your hand or deck. You cannot activate this effect the turn this card is normal summoned, special summoned, or flipped face up. Again, very useless. It's just not worth running. Okay, so here's where you start getting the level reduction, the attack reduction effects. Ultimate Insect level 3, wind attribute, insect type, 1400 attack and 900 defense. For a level 3, those stats are okay. The effect is, if this card was special summoned by the effect of Ultimate Insect level 1, while it remains on the field, all of your opponent's monsters lose 300 attack. Not enough. During your standby phase, by sending this face-up card to the graveyard, special summon 1 Ultimate Insect level 5 from your hand or deck. You cannot activate this effect the turn that this card is normal summoned, special summoned, or flipped face up. So it's incredibly useless. It's just not worthwhile. It's just an awful card. The reductions are just pointless. Level 5, it's a level 5 monster, wind attribute, insect type, 2300 attack, but it keeps the same defense stat of 900. If this card was special summoned by the effect of Ultimate Insect level 3, while it remains on the field, all your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack. During your standby phase, by sending this face-up card to the graveyard, special summon one ultimate insect level 7 from your hand or deck. You cannot activate this effect the turn this card is normal summoned, special summoned, or flipped face up. Again, 500 points of reduction is not going to make a blind bit of difference. And the final version, Ultimate Insect level 7. Level 7 monster, wind attribute, insect type. 2600 attack and a slight increase in its defense to 1200. The effect is, if this card was special summoned by the effect of Ultimate Insect level 5, while it remains on the field, all of your opponent's monsters lose 700 attack and defense. This is the only one of them that actually reduces the defense stat as well, and the 700 loss is okay, reasonable enough. You're not likely to get all 3 of those ultimate insects onto your field, so it's not like you're going to be getting 2,100 off your opponent's stats, but at least it's something for a level 7. Okay, and because I feel that we have to, I am going to cover the winged Karibos. I think they're some of the later ones to be released. I know, of course, people are going to say in the comments that, Peter, there's the armed dragons, there's new ones that came out of Blazing Vortex. Yes, I am very aware of that, but I consider them to be pretty much similar to the original armed dragons anyway. So I don't really consider them to be much in terms of level support, and until they introduce other cards, I'm still not going to change my opinion on that. This is Winged Karibo level 9. It's level 9 monster, light attribute, fairy type. It's got a question mark on both its attack and defense, and the effect is activate only as chain link 3 or higher as a quick effect. You can special summon this card from your hand. Spell cards that have been activated are banished instead of being sent to the graveyard. The attack and defense of this card are equal to the number of spells in your opponent's graveyard times 500. And you can only control one Winged Karibo level 9. This card can ratchet up quite a few attack points if your opponent isn't really running anything. If they've got a lot of spell cards in their graveyard, then that's fine. But other than that, it's just not viable. And the other version, the level 10 Winged Karibo, it's light attribute fairy type, and it cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned with transcendent wings. During your opponent's battle phase as a quick effect, you contribute this face-up card to destroy as many attack position monsters your opponent controls as possible, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the combined original attack of those destroyed monsters. This is a very painful card to summon. You have to have a few cards to meet the conditions. I think you need to have a face-up Winged Karibo to begin with, then you need to have the Transcendent Wings set. So it's a quick play spell card. So that has to be on the field, ready to go. You need 2 cards in your hand because you have to discard them as a cost for Transcendent Wings, only of which then you can summon a Winged Karibo level 10 to use its effect. If your opponent sees you running a Winged Karibo in attack mode, I think they're going to be intelligent enough to know not to run it into that monster because it's going to be a trap for them. So overall, with the different level monsters, the only one who has any competitive elements to them are the Horus monsters, especially the level 8. The effects are just far too minimal for use. They're too easy to be disrupted. There needs to be some kind of summoning protection for them. There needs to be an upgraded, or in regards to effects, if they're going to make new versions, they need to link the level monsters into an archetype, which has been done in the past with the charm monsters with spell and trap support. They need to have the ability to return one of the higher monsters to the deck and replace it if you have a clocked hand. So you're not running and ending up with, 3 level 7 armed dragons in your hand where you can't do anything with them and scratching and pulling out your hair. You need to provide search monsters for the level monsters, and there needs to be alternative strategies for the level monsters. For example, you can create a dark version of these cards, such as has been done with things like Arch Lord Zerato. You've got Dark Lord Zerato there. You can create an archetype for each level theme to make them boss monsters. So you've got Armed Dragon level 10, you could have various other versions. I would suggest as well finalising the deck by adding higher levels to the deck. For example, Armed Dragon needs a level 1 through to level 12 for a complete deck, or alternatively have a level for each level available, with the effect adjusting slightly for each monster. Thank you for watching the video. Like the video if you enjoyed it. What do you think of this combo? Is this something you have thought of before, or is this a new strategy to you? Leave those comments down below, and please subscribe. It helps promote my channel for the YouTube algorithm. And make sure to click on the end screen now to watch another one of my videos.